Alright, so I said I was going to do this probably a month and a half ago. Life gets in the way. Now let's go ahead and talk about it. So I wanted to compare the original Tempe Arena to the Tempe Entertainment District, and honestly, I am really shocked that the TID didn't go through because it was such a better deal, and I am more intimately familiar with this. This is the one I actually had to research. That was during the period of time in which I was very casual with the Coyotes between 2015 and 2018. So, let's go ahead and talk about it. November 2016, the Coyotes announced a 16,000-seat arena that will cost reportedly $400 million. It is just an arena, and it's in Tempe on 56 acres. I saw one report that listed that, so I'm throwing that up there. Just hunky-dory. I'm going to assume it would have sat on a 56-acre piece of property. I believe it used to be a golf course. It's right across the street there from Tempe Marketplace. I know where it was. I'm going to assume it was a much smaller piece of the land. But I saw that. I'm just going to throw it on the board. So they announced this, and they proposed paying half. Now, I have this down here. Andrew Barroway is the owner at the time, probably the majority owner at the time. In 2016, and I have to put this here because I have to imagine this should have been the deciding factor, in my opinion, for why a lot of people should have been much higher on the Tempe Entertainment District than they were, because the Coyotes already did, under previous worse ownership, try to pull something in on ASU here, because $140 million is the reported cost for Mullet Arena. Don Mullet, of course, covered a decent portion of that. Yeah, for a $60 million savings, that was a very smart business decision by ASU. That was the entire reason why whenever ASU endorsed the TED, and the reports came out that ASU and the Coyotes had that agreement to have the men's and women's basketball play at the new Coyotes Arena in Tempe, I thought that was a done deal, because just compare these two for a second off just that fact. But anyway, reportedly $400 million, the Coyotes said they would pay for half, and considering the way the project was split up was essentially Mullet Arena was an annex. So if you don't know how Mullet Arena is built, it's a 5,000-seat arena, and directly attached to it is the Mountain America Credit Union community rink. It's a mouthful. It's the community rink. Community rink is right next to it, and that's what this would have been. Unironically, legitimately, it would have been a 4,000-seater that would have served as the Coyotes' practice facility and ASU's main facility. 16,000 seats for the Coyotes' main arena. $200 million? They have 1,000 more capacity. Technically a little more depending on how you calculate it. 1,000 more capacity, $60 million in savings. This was a bad deal, just from the start. And we all know, I couldn't find the footage, but this is a pretty infamous story, and if even the hockey guy knows about this, yeah, this definitely did happen. You remember that press conference, right? Where ASU didn't show up? Where it was like the Coyotes had a press conference talking about the arena they want to build with ASU, and ASU's like, nah, we're not getting involved here. And then officially, February 2017, ASU pulls out. No official reason was given. However, this would have required public funding. This actually, literally would have required public funding. Every single thing people were talking about here that, quite frankly, wasn't the case, actually was the case over here. So it would have required the public funding that it had to get everything together, because ASU is a state university. It's a public university. So if ASU wants funding, they want money, they got to go through the government. They were also doing some things like, I think, the engineering school at the time. So ASU had other priorities, and in my personal opinion, they probably took one look at Barroway's numbers and was like, yeah, this guy doesn't have the money that he needs. Or it's just going to be a bad deal. So like I said, they pulled out. That funding bill did have opposition as well. You look at it, probably wasn't going to be worth the while. Plug is pulled. This project, officially, the official timeline is technically, like, public timeline, that's 4 months? No, November, December, January, February, technically 3 months, but over the course of 4 months, we'll just throw in October just to make it nice, 4-month period there. That died pretty quickly. It was pretty much, my brother-in-law at the time, we're driving around on like a Saturday, oh, hey, the Coyotes are going to move to Tempe. Cool. I think it was like a year later, we were driving to Tempe for a hot dog, and it was like, oh, whatever happened to that arena? Oh, it fell through. There you go. Tempe Entertainment District. Let's go ahead and compare. So, September 2021, the Coyotes are the only ones to respond to a request for proposal, an RFP. June 2nd, 2022, in a 5-2 vote, they vote yes. The Tempe City Council votes yes to having that conversation and beginning negotiations. November 2022, it's a unanimous 7-0 vote to send it to a referendum. And here are all the details. I'm much more intimately familiar with this, so I didn't have to write as many notes here. So it's on 46 acres. The original land sale would have been $40 million for Phase 1A. And fun little note about that $40 million was non-refundable. No matter what, even if the rest of this fell through, even if anything else happened, that $40 million would have belonged to Tempe for essentially nothing. Then you have another $10.3 million for Phase 2A, and that would have been a little extra stuff. Pretty much what was focused on is the arena first, make sure that fits, build everything else around it. It would have had, I think it was a 10,000-seat little music venue, might have been a little bit less. There was a couple other things on it, bunch of residential units. It would have been quite the development. It reportedly had a $2.1 billion price tag, reviewing articles as early as when the RFP goes out. PHNX, one of the numbers thrown around was 1.7, and before this number was on print, it's still available on Tempe's website. Go to look up Tempe Entertainment District, download the little PDF. It'll still show that right there, $2.1 billion project. Before that was finalized, probably somewhere around here, 2.3 was thrown around. Anyway, the arena would have had a 30-year giblet. The arena and the music venue, there's a couple other things that would have had giblets. So people do not know what giblets are, just straight up. So they were saying that the Coyotes would have been completely waived from having to pay property taxes. Well, a giblet, something that pretty much every major construction in Tempe so far, at least more recently, has utilized. A giblet is a government property lease excise tax. It is literally, and I've said this multiple times when I was covering the entire TED, all it is you are replacing property tax with a leasing tax. It's probably just, it's going to save the Coyotes a little bit of money. It's a little bit lesser of a rate. But considering how nothing is currently going up on that 46 acres, yeah, whatever that number would have been is much higher than zero. Anyway, let's keep going. $209 million bond would have been issued by the city of Tempe, but it wouldn't have gone on their books. That was the way they described it. I was at that city council meeting for, I think, 4 of the total 8 or 9 hours. It was a long night that night. Listening to it at work, drive home, let's try to make it over there, and it kept going and going. So $209 million bond that the Coyotes and everyone that is doing business on within the TED were responsible for paying back. They would also put in, I think it was an additional 2.8% tax. Essentially, the Coyotes would have imposed a tax on everything you bought, and that was supposed to go to paying off the $209 million. And again, at that council meeting, the way it was described in plain English, if whatever they're generating is not enough to justify the bonds, it's not enough to pay that most recent payment, whatever, the city of Tempe can literally lock everyone out until the difference is made up. This was very much ironclad for Tempe. The Tempe City Council did an excellent job, in my opinion, negotiating this and making sure that no matter what, Tempe was not going to be on the hook. This really was, in my opinion, a phenomenal deal. And then May 16th, 2023, Tempe votes no. The residents vote no. There's a lot of things I didn't know at the time, so I do want to reflect here a little bit. I was not really thinking about the fact that that's when a lot of people are gone. It's a special election. The Coyotes should have held on for a regular election. It's how it was explained to me, talking to some people that know a little more about the politics side. As you guys know, I'm not the politics guy. I like hockey, Godzilla, throw in some dinosaurs. I'm a simple man, really. And let me play some Skyrim. Very simple guy. But considering that they probably would have had a better turnout, and the fact that it already was technically a massive turnout, especially for a special election, here's the problem. That's a very bad thing. We saw it with the 2022 U.S. elections. Whenever either a big hot-button issue, like a right, is proposed to be taken away or perceived to be taken away, as long as there is that perception, that discussion, people get mad. You know what happens when they get mad? People actually do stuff, including going out to vote. So, the No campaign threw In my opinion, very shady tactics, convinces enough people that this was a bad deal and the Coyotes are trying to take advantage. And to be fair, the Coyotes didn't do themselves any favors. All right, I'm not here to jump on the soapbox for Alex Meruelo. Frankly, I am not. He is a billionaire that I only care for as long as he keeps my team here. That is it. That is the only use that I have for him in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not here to jump on his soapbox. The Coyotes did not help themselves out with how they ended things in Glendale. And I remember being angry at the time, like, I understand what was going on in Glendale, and I understand how the Coyotes didn't want to be locked in a lease for potentially 15 to 20 years. I get that, but you can't do it the way you did, and you burned bridges, and now people don't trust you. When you actually had a deal that was structured in such a way that it was a literal no-brainer, like, to the taxpayers, basically free. Remember, how this was broken down was if you do not shop there, you do not even step foot within the TED, you are paying nothing. Zero. Absolutely nothing. That is how this deal was structured. That is how it was. And for some reason, I don't know if it's because of this deal, because this one right here, the 2016, yes, that one did require public funding. That one 100% did. I think that was state level, but it still would have been taxpayer dollars. Not even arguing against that in any way, shape, or form. I genuinely believe this was a bad deal right here. ASU proved it by getting Mullet Arena and their community rink for $60 million less. ASU proved that. And even if it was $150 million, which I've heard a couple of times, that's still $50 million less. That is not an insignificant chunk of change. I'm not good at the whole math part, but that's a pretty healthy percentage. But besides the point, this genuinely was like a deal that I'm baffled didn't pass. And going through, again, speaking to different people, trying to get different perspectives, a lot of stuff that I really wasn't thinking about. I didn't even put the lawsuit up here that Sky Harbor sued. Coyotes countersue. Obviously, that's not going to go anywhere now. I'm assuming those have already been essentially thrown away, or sometime next year when they finally show up on a judge's desk, they'll get thrown away. But there was that whole drama, and if you go to Desert Moon Hockey, yes, I'm going to shamelessly plug, Richie made a phenomenal video explaining how the Sky Harbor didn't really have much of a case there, and there you go. Those are the differences. You have a bad arena proposal for not wanting public money to go towards it. You have a genuinely good, borderline iron-tight proposal that requires a lot of maneuvering. It's a lot of legalese. It's a lot of stuff that is a little complicated, sure, but it also was a $2.1 billion project that had all the former mayors for the last X amount of years, all the former council members, but I think two of the most recent. I think it was 20 years, but just put an asterisk on the length of time. It was last for X amount of years. You had a bunch of local business leaders, a lot of local business leaders. You had most of, I think it was all but the carpenters unions. Don't quote me on that one. Don't quote me on that one, but that one was pretty shiesty to me, but I'm not going to elaborate on that. But I'm still partially shocked that this failed. And you had the weirdos that were like, oh, the front office staff is out there, they're campaigning, that means they're worried. Obviously they weren't when it came out how the Coyotes Yes campaign was severely outfunded by the No campaign, considering the Yes campaign had a $1 billion owner backing it. They were arrogant. You don't plan a party on the night of an election that you think you are going to lose. You don't plan a press conference, which they canceled. They said they were going to do it no matter what. I guess technically Gutierrez making a statement. You can kind of call it that. But I think the press conference was technically the next day. You don't do a lot of the stuff they were doing unless you're confident. All right? Internally, I can tell you, anecdotally, all right, grain of salt here, I can tell you they were confident. I was confident. Most of us around us were confident because this legit. I don't think Mayor Corey Woods, was being hyperbolic in any way, shape, or form when he said that this was the best arena deal in Arizona sports history. I genuinely don't think he was wrong there, and it's kind of unfortunate. Now, obviously, you got to keep moving forward. I am eventually going to do an overall video, kind of similar to what the hockey guy did. I was hoping to do it a little more documentary style. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. That's a lot of editing. But I did want to highlight the differences because leading up to the campaign, I wanted to make a video like that. I just ran out of time. And when you look at them back to back, it really just, in my opinion, shows how much better the Ted was. And considering how former Mayor Giuliano afterwards was saying, well, Tempe's looking for extra tax revenues. Now that they're not getting this, taxes are probably going to go up. Those are his words, not mine. PHNX, though, the clip still exists. Go look for it. It was just after the election. It was post-election coverage. Go look for it. That clip is a real thing. That's what he said. And the remediation, the preliminary, I think I said the preliminary estimate was I cannot read. I don't remember, 73.6 million. That, we're going to keep that in, 73.6 million. I've heard some cartoonish numbers as high as 200 million. And considering how they don't really know how necessary the remediation is, in terms of how much it needs, how detailed it needs, that is not my area of expertise, so I'm just trying to explain it the best I possibly can with my limited knowledge in that field. Basically nothing. But they don't really know how bad it is until they get down in there, and some of the estimates were as high as 200 million. That could have just been hyperbole. I'm going to put a major asterisk on that one. I've had way too many conversations before and after this election. A lot of them are just blending together in my head at this point. But now the city of Tempe, a lot of the residents, a lot of the older residents that were convinced their tax dollars were going to it, which frankly they weren't. And a very famous quote by someone that was interviewed was that, I probably wouldn't go there, so I don't want my tax dollars going there. And the fact that he had no idea that was the exact thought process behind this, and his tax dollars wouldn't have been going there. So it comes down to a lot of things. It comes down to a poor campaign. I don't care that the Coyotes did hire people that had won campaigns in Tempe in the past. If I'm hearing from a bunch of political types that having the special election was probably the dumbest decision they made, and also how long they waited to start their campaign, letting the no vote get out there first, I think Craig Morgan described the head of the no vote as having a degree in bullshit, essentially. Those are the kind of people you're dealing with, and if you let their message get out there first, that's the first thing people are going to hear. They look at the headline, they don't read the article. They read the first paragraph, they don't read the retraction or the correction later. So the Coyotes ran a bad campaign. They were underfunded for what they should have been. This literally should have been David and Goliath, and the Coyotes' ownership, management, didn't take it seriously enough because they were arrogant. And this video is supposed to be mostly retrospective. I'm just getting angry again, so I'm going to find a stopping point here. But it's just, now that it's all on screen, it's very interesting to me, and not a whole lot that can be done at this point. It's just what it is. The Coyotes continue their arena search. Obviously, North Phoenix is allegedly the place. We'll see if they can get that locked down. However, I'm going to have the mindset I've had in the past. This is the last year the Coyotes are going to be in Arizona. Want to know why? Because I remember the bankruptcy. I remember 2010, 2011, 2012. I remember 2019, not that long ago. I remember when they did the year-on-year lease thing. I've lived through so many last years in Arizona, and the Coyotes have a 100% success rate of not leaving when they're in their last year of Arizona. So, there you go. This is the last year the Coyotes are in Arizona. I will see you guys opening night next year and hope this does not age poorly.